So here we have a DeWalt 925 DLX that I bought all from an ad from on Facebook Marketplace that a lady had that she was getting rid of some of her late husband's stuff, and this is one of the items that she had listed for sale. The saw is in overall fairly good condition. Looks to have been used very little, and I think with just a little bit of TLC it'll be back up and running again like it's supposed to. One of the first things I do when I get a new tool or piece of equipment is to do an overall evaluation on it and to see what kind of condition it is in, as far as whether or not it will actually operate and whether or not all the functions on the tool or piece of equipment will work. And we've already tested this saw. It does turn on, it will run, and everything seems to be able to operate as it was designed. So basically we're going to go through, lube everything up good, get all the movements working smooth, install the blade correctly, and do a little cleaning and adjustment, and basically get this saw back where it's in an operating state without doing any restoration work to it. One of the first things I did notice was that someone had installed the blade backwards, and both of the washers were installed backwards on the saw arbor. So, and it had a plywood cutting blade on it as well when I picked the saw up. So we removed that and put a regular 9-inch cross-cutting blade on it. It was one that actually came with the saw. It's an old blade, but for the time being it'll be fine to just test the saw out and make sure that it runs and operates. There was a drum sander attached to the auxiliary shaft on that back side of the motor, and we went ahead and removed that because we're not going to be using that right now, and we'll just put that in storage for the time being. Cosmetically, this saw was in pretty good shape. There is some rust and pitting on it, but the original green with white splatter paint job that this saw came from the factory with is in overall good condition. So I think with just a little bit of cleaning and some polishing, it'll polish right up. All of the aluminum handles and knobs seem to be in great shape. The only knob that is missing is the knob that for the motor tilt that allows you to get the blade at various angles for making angled cross cuts. That knob was missing. It appears to have been missing for quite a while because that screw threads and the pin that actually locates the motor in the carriage tilt was pretty rusty. And as you can see here, I use 3-in-1 oil. It's one of my most favorite oils to use. The camera angle is a little bit low on these videos because I'm using just a little three-legged tripod that actually holds a GoPro style camera. But that camera is so poor quality that I actually just strap my smartphone to it and use it as a camera, and that's what I'm using to film this with. So I try to center most of the saw in the camera shot, but some of it is missing. So you'll have to excuse my videography skills until we get a better camera set up. But I removed the carriage from the radial arm to inspect the bearings and found that they were actually in pretty good shape. They had a little bit of dust built up on them and crud that we cleaned off, and then we added the 3-in-1 oil to them and let it soak in through the dust shields and re-lubricate the internals of the bearing. And 3 of the bearings rehydrated the grease, so to speak, and became very smooth. There is one bearing that doesn't feel quite as good as the others, and once we use this saw a little while, it may free on up. It's not by any means in a failure type mode, but it is a little harder and has some definite friction to it as it turns. But again, we'll use the saw for a little while and see how it works. And if it does require replacement, the replacement bearings are available, and we can purchase a new set to put on it. The adjustment inside the radial ways was very tight. I didn't see any reason to try to adjust it anymore to bring any closer clearances in. So we're just going to leave it as is for now, like I said, and we'll use this saw for a while and see what loosens up and what doesn't, and all. And that's the only way to really tell what condition a tool or a piece of equipment is in. Is just get out there and use it and see what it does and see how it performs. As always, we try to make sure that the equipment is safe to use. And that we take proper precautions to make sure that we keep ourselves safe and don't do anything that is out of character or unsafe or put anyone in danger. So after we've lubed the carriage bearings up, we're going to stick them back in the radial arm, align everything back up, and slide it back in, and it moves very well with just a slight amount of pressure required to move it back and forth through the radial arm. The ways were in very good shape, hardly any wear on them whatsoever. So this radial arm saw is on an original DeWalt stand with what appears to be a factory-made table that probably is original to the saw, and it does have the fold-away front, which is typical of a design you'll see from Mr. Sawdust. If you go on the web internet and search for the Mr. Sawdust, you'll find a good bit of literature and information about the radial arm saw tables that he designed and builds, and I believe he actually borrowed the fold-away front design from DeWalt and modified it, slightly to fit his needs and uses. And of course, now people are copying his design when they build a table for a radial arm saw. I plan on using his design to replace the table on my 12-inch Craftsman and on my 10-inch Craftsman, as well as the Delta Super 990 that I have waiting in the ranks to be worked on. The Delta I acquired almost a year ago, and had all intentions of restoring it because it's in good shape, but it's cosmetically kind of rough. And my thoughts were to do a video series where we do a complete teardown, strip everything, clean it, clean the metal parts, and try to do a color match paint job to what it was originally, and put it back into near new or light new condition. But we'll have to wait for that to happen a little later on. We just got too many other things going on right now, one of which is getting this all going and doing a lot of woodworking projects as well. So hopefully that we'll be able to do a video series on the Delta in the future. And we'll post some videos of this saw once we get it set up, hopefully building some projects. Typically on my saws, tabletops, and on the saw parts as well, I use a paste wax just as kind of a moisture protection and barrier, and to keep the table lubricated where parts and pieces will slide easily across it. You know, when I'm making cuts. I use typically Johnson's paste wax on the tables, and I also use it on the metal parts as well, and it seems to work fairly good. This saw, we're just going to put a coat of wax on the table and then wax the metal surfaces that we can get to fairly easily. Just to add a little bit of protection and hopefully kind of slow down some of the rust that is starting to show up on it. The paint on this saw is very dry, meaning that you can take your finger and rub across any of the surfaces and you would get paint pigment on your finger. So we're going to add some paste wax to it. Hopefully that will add a layer of protection and kind of help seal in some of that paint that's left and prevent it from flaking off. I know that's not the ideal way to take care of this problem, but it's the easiest and quickest way for me to do it right now. Ideally, I would take this saw completely apart, strip it down to bare castings, blast it, and repaint it. However, duplicating the green with the white splatter paint job would be difficult to do, and I really like the way this saw looks. I think it's very unique and it's different, and most of the saws that I have seen that have been restored are either painted a black or a dark gray, like a battleship gray, or a dark green. Occasionally I will see some that have been painted with a DeWalt variant yellow, or a variant of the DeWalt yellow that you see common today. I think some people are actually using an old Caterpillar yellow from the 50s to paint saws with. But I like this color. I like this kind of green color. So here, the last part of the video, we're doing a little quick walk around showing the after results after we've got everything waxed, cleaned up, and lubricated, and everything set back like it should be to where it will operate. And this saw, like I said, is actually a good looking saw for its age, and appears to be in great shape. And I look forward to getting out there and using it. Thanks for watching, guys.